So it's exactly 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, August 19th. I'm sitting here enjoying a small late lunch at the lobby of an upscale hotel in downtown Boston. I'm not going to say which one, although I'm sure that the GPS on this cell phone has already revealed my location to whoever keeps accessing this phone and messing with the emails and messages and phone calls that I try to make using this phone. But the reason I'm making this video right now is that I've had my phone off for the last hour. I've been sitting here for the last hour, nibbling on a late lunch and just trying to see what happens if I shut off my cell phone and put it in my bag and then cover my bag with my raincoat. It's pretty nasty outside right now. Gray and kind of cool and raining. So I'm inside, even though I'd much rather be sitting outside. I was at FedEx all afternoon from right around 2:20 p.m. until they closed at 6, getting business work done and financial matters taken care of, and a lot of emailing and phone calling and other stuff out of the way. And now I'm just sitting here and it is perfectly quiet. There's nobody being disruptive. There's no crazy trolls with toddlers swarming the area where I happen to be sitting, which happens a lot when I'm out in public. Like literally dozens of trolls with toddlers suddenly show up and they get really aggressive about placing their toddlers and the strollers in my immediate vicinity within just a few feet or a few yards or as close as they can possibly get. And then they allow or maybe even encourage the toddlers to start screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and just being really disruptive. I know toddlers well enough to know that they don't usually do that unless they're allowed to or unless they're really sick. But then if they're sick, they shouldn't be out. I spent my entire adolescence and young adulthood babysitting. Great way to make money. And, it's easy when you're a teenager to not have to go to work at McDonald's. It's a lot easier to babysit for your neighbors. So I always did that. Never had any issues. Don't have a real problem with kids. I just never wanted to have any for many reasons. And those reasons continue to hold true even now when I'm 50. I'm not interested in having kids, but I'm constantly getting trolled, approached and aggressively harassed and just stalked by large numbers of people with toddlers. And the tip-off is that it's always toddlers. It's never, 12 or 13-year-olds that they're trying to troll me with. It's toddlers because toddlers are pretty obviously much more easily made to scream and engage in disruptive and attention-seeking behavior than 12 or 13-year-olds. 12 and 13-year-olds are pretty quiet. I have a niece and nephew that are both just turning 13, and they like to read books. So if you're trying to harass people using 12 or 13-year-olds, it's not really going to work that well in terms of having the kids screaming and shouting nonstop in someone's immediate vicinity. So they use toddlers instead. And there are such large numbers of them constantly approaching and swarming the area wherever I happen to be, even when I go out of my way to sit in quiet corners. You would not expect people with strollers or screaming toddlers to access, that it is pretty obvious that it's not an accident and it's not a coincidence. It's a community mobbing kind of situation going on, and they use the GPS on my cell phone to do that. There's no other way that they could possibly know exactly where I am at any given moment unless they're using my cell phone and its location. So there's that. But right now it's perfectly quiet because I've had my cell phone off for the last hour and it was shoved in the bottom of my bag. So I'm greatly enjoying this right now. I'm having a fabulous early evening. There's also no really disruptive cleaning people suddenly vacuuming around my feet or telling me that I need to move because they suddenly have to clean the area where I'm sitting, right? That happens to be a lot too. When I'm out in public and I'm just sitting somewhere quiet, all of a sudden the cleaning staff will show up and they will literally shove my bags around and vacuum around my bags. Oh, wait a second. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Anyway, I get aggressively trolled and harassed by large numbers of dipshits with dogs they do the same thing that the trolls or toddlers do with the toddlers. They literally shove the dogs at my feet, and then I have to like step over the dog or try to walk around the leash. And because I'm not a dog person, I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish by literally trolling me with their dogs. I'm also not a toddler person. So again, I am deliberately child free. I'm very contentedly child free. I never wanted to have children, although I've babysat for plenty, and that's fun. You get to play with them for a few hours and then, read books and just whatever, hang out, and then you give them back to the parents and then you get paid. It's terrific. But do I want to spend years of my life cleaning up snot, vomit, poopy diapers, worrying about like what their schooling is, going to be like, or whether or not they're going to go to college or whatever, and how am I going to pay for college? No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that responsibility. I like my freedom. So I'm not sure why these trolls or toddlers keep trying to approach me and aggressively, like, literally shove their toddlers and the strollers at me, but they do. And it has no effect other than making me go in the opposite direction and think that these people are so pathetic and stupid that they go out of their way to use their children as pawns to harass adults, which is basically child exploitation, and that's child abuse. So I karma is a bitch, stupid parents who use their children as pawns to harass other adults. And you're going to get that land back in your lap times a million. I guarantee it. Karma is a bitch, especially when you use your underage children to harass adults. That is a very nasty business in terms of karma. I believe in karma because I've gotten karma myself. I spent my entire 20s dating and living with boyfriends. And I was not always faithful to those boyfriends because I wasn't married to them. And honestly, I did not owe them any fidelity, really. We didn't have a legal agreement, and I could do whatever I wanted, even if I lived in the same apartment as them. But when those situations ended, and then I was in my 30s and I was dating guys that I really, really did like, they cheated on me. So that's karma, or maybe it's just people being people. But when people aggressively use their toddlers and young children to approach, harass, and troll other adults and tell those children to start screaming or getting really disruptive in order to harass those other adults in the vicinity, that is some heavy karma right there, besides being child abuse and child exploitation because a child cannot consent to being used as a pawn to harass other adults. So yeah, these parents have a lot of bad karma coming to them, and that's not my problem. Just my observation. So I'm just enjoying this, and this raincoat right here. So I love clothes. I'm a clothes person. The entire time that I was working as a research scientist, in the last 15 years, I was also working part-time in retail just to make a little extra cash on the side. And I have bought so many beautiful items of clothing that I have actually never worn. So my crime against myself is to have spent a lot of money on really beautiful clothing items over the last 10 years that I never ended up wearing and that are still sitting in boxes and luggages with tags on them because they've never been worn. And this beautiful ecru, it's ecru spelled ECRU. It's an off-white color. This beautiful ecru summer raincoat is one of them. I've barely worn it, maybe once or twice at the most. It actually has a hood, which is fabulous when it's raining. And it is just gorgeous when you put it on. It has this lovely shape. And I bought it 6 or 7 years ago and just have never worn it. So I pulled it out today because it's been sitting in a storage item for years and decided, hey, why not wear something different? So I'm pretty excited about this raincoat right now, especially since it is actually raining outside, and I can put it to the test and see how well it repels water and wind and, elements. It's not cold outside, but it's maybe 65, which is a bit chilly for August. So I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this healthy, delicious late lunch and catch up on some emailing and maybe make a few more phone calls to my family because I'm close to them.